This episode is brought to you by Hunt Hickory Creek. And new to Hunt Hickory Creek this year is their Central Kansas Lodge. They're going to be running hunters from the end of October all the way through January, and their main hunting area is located between Quivira National Refuge and Cheyenne Bottoms. Central Kansas is a special place for waterfowl hunting, and during the peak migration, those refuges hold hundreds of thousands, if not close to millions of ducks and geese at a time. Mainly specklebelly, snow, and lesser Canada geese, mallards, pintails, and widgeon. You may have an opportunity to harvest all of these species in one hunt. You'll be very comfortable every morning in their Avian X A-frame blinds or laying on backboards, and they hunt over 1,200 of the industry's finest decoys. So visit their website at www.hunthickorycreek.com for booking information and follow them throughout the year on Facebook and Instagram. And don't miss your opportunity at a hunt of a lifetime with Hunt Hickory Creek. If you're going to hunt Kansas, Hunt Hickory Creek. Welcome to the Fowl Front Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast, where our goal is to recruit and educate new hunters while entertaining the rest of you. Without new hunters and the mentorship of those more seasoned, this passion as we know it faces an uncertain future. So get the word out, turn the volume up, and enjoy the show, because you're on the Fowl Front. This episode is also brought to you by Grip Pack Calls. If you want to produce a more versatile, realistic, and higher quality sound with all the ease of a double reed, whether you're looking to up your game or just starting out, let a Grip Pack call work just as hard for you as the Grip Pack crew did to develop and bring you next level quality with easy blowing calls. Grip Pack Calls. Find your grit. All right, so today we've got a close friend of the show on today. We got Chase from Hunt Hickory Creek. And he's going to be giving us a little lowdown on what it's like to be a guide and kind of go into his story on how he became one, because I know there's quite a few people that are out there that are interested in that life. And just kind of telling the story of, what he's got going on here in Kansas and kind of get into it. So what do you think, Chase?
Hey, Ben, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing well.
It's good to be back on the show, and I've had kind of a crazy summer up to this point, but finally winded down and getting back into training dogs and booking up some hunts and getting excited for waterfowl season. It's right around the corner. Well, it feels like it is. It's still a few months off for us, but teal season's not too far away, I guess. So
that's true. That's true.
I'm getting excited about that and doing a little bit of traveling here, and heading back to Kansas here at the end of the month, end of July, I guess. So making a pit stop in Wisconsin to see a good friend of mine, Alex, up there. He's actually got the litter mate to my dog, Jet, and I'm gonna pick up a trailer, I think, and then head on down to Kansas and start getting ready for everything for deer and then waterfowl season. So pretty excited.
I suppose it's kind of maybe a different feeling than just like the regular guy, with waterfowl season and hunting season approaching. It's got to be some sort of mixed emotion because it's, a little bit work, but a lot of it play, I guess. And, it's the passion, but I don't know. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, it's a little bit work and a lot play. Well, sometimes it's that way, but other times it's a lot of work and a little bit of play. It just depends on the.
I figured.
It just depends on the situation. But I'm busy right now. We've got our lodge lined out at our new camp there in Central Kansas. We're just going to call that the Central Kansas Lodge, and then of course we've still got the Howard. Our lodge in southeastern Kansas there in Howard. Got that all lined out and, working on decoy purchases and, figuring out some stuff with some of my guides and booking hunters, so opening up the new expansion is a big step for us. And, it's going to be Hunt Hickory Creek's first year in Central Kansas, but the couple of the guys that I've brought on have been out there all their lives. One guy, his name is Cody Cody Crook, he's from Ellenwood, Kansas. And then I got another boy. His name is Trevor Stoll, and he's from Hutchinson, Kansas. And Trevor guides in Canada and September and October, and then Cody works for, I think, the co-op out there, or the farmer service. He sprays fields and gets all the food ready for the ducks for all the farmers out there. So that's always we're all in the work phase right now. Cody's getting ready for the ducks, planting for them, and all that stuff. Just he works for like I said, the farmer service and sprays, and he's doing thousands and thousands of acres at a time out there. So he's always sending me Snapchats, being in the tractor and working on corn and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, we're busy, but we're excited for waterfowl season for sure.
Yeah. And I think we're going to have Cody on for, he's going to teach us how to actually scout, right?
Yeah, I did the broad stroke, if you will. But there's nobody better in the business that I know of that's better at finding birds, especially in central Kansas, than Cody. He's a top-notch guy. He's got a dog from Southern Oak Kennels like I do. That's actually how we met, and he's a great guy. He really is. And I'll tell you one thing: he can find some birds. There ain't no two ways about it. That guy can find birds, and he knows what to look for, and he's good at it. That's for sure. Yeah.
Well, looking forward to having that knowledge get on the show, for sure. So what's the lodge? You want to paint a little picture for us on the lodge?
Yeah, well, you can go on our Facebook page and or our Instagram and see pictures of the actual lodge itself. But it's about half a mile west of Quivira National Refuge, which I actually found out is the largest interior refuge in the entire country. Or not, maybe it's the interior. It might be interior wetland. I think it's interior. I think it's the largest interior refuge in the entire country, and it's half a mile out the front door. When we got our hands on this place, and we pulled up to the lodge, I got out and I didn't even look at the house. I looked out in front of it. It's just got an absolute stellar view of pretty much the entire refuge. I mean, I can't imagine. I can't even describe what's going to be able to be seen from the front porch. I mean, the clients that are lucky enough to go there, or willing enough to come out and hunt with us and stay at that lodge. I mean, it's going to be incredible what these guys are going to be able to see from the front porch. I mean, I think it's a 3-bedroom, couple baths. It's got a barn in the back with a cleaning shed that we're going to turn into our processing facility. And it's got a 30 by 30 concrete slab next to that we're going to build dog kennels on for all the clients that bring dogs and for our dogs. It's got a pool table. It's nice. It's real nice. So we're super stoked about that. It's a pretty cool place. It's got a big fire pit and a little pond, and it's going to be pretty nice. It's a pretty nice little lodge for sure. So we're excited about that. It was a godsend. It fell right in our laps, and it's an awesome place. So gonna be a lot of memories and a lot of beers drank at that place.
Hey, yeah, there you go, man. So let's back it up. How did it come to be your position at Hunt Hickory Creek?
Well, it's gonna be a little bit of a long story, but I don't mind telling it for sure. So I originally grew up in Florida until I was about 12 or 13 years old, and then moved to Virginia, where my dad's side of the family is from. And my grandfather has been a huge hunter his entire life. He's from a little town called Montrose, Virginia. It's up off the Potomac River. And growing up, he would always tell me stories about hunting and duck hunting and shooting canvasbacks up on the Potomac by the truckloads, shooting lead number 5s that he hand loaded, in his old Army fatigue camo. He was in the military, and where we moved to in Virginia, there's a little creek behind my parents' house that kind of opens up to like a little lagoon. And first winter that we were there was always geese and ducks and, mainly geese back in the creek behind the house. So along with my granddad, me and my dad went out. We built a huge blind, way too big, like a 16 by 16 blind with like a 20-foot boathouse on the back of it. And we'd go out there and shoot a couple geese here and there. But that was actually my first bird, was a goose, I think, if I recall correctly. And that kind of started the fire. And then when I got into high school, I got into deer hunting with a couple of my buddies, and then I went off to college, played baseball, went into college to play baseball. And I was just burnt out on it. I had played since I was 5 years old, and I was burnt out, and my passions had shifted. I was more concerned with hunting and fishing and other things than I was with baseball. So I changed my major. I was originally a sports management major when I started college. Changed it to biology, and then after my sophomore year of college, I transferred back, moved back home, went to a college called Christopher Newport University here in Newport News, Virginia, and continued my biology degree and ended up graduating with a bachelor's in organismal biology or wildlife biology. Well, while I was in college, I worked at Bass Pro Shops for 2 years, and then I worked at a little archery shop called Wilcox Bait and Tackle. It's been open for like 50 or 60 years. Little mom and pop shop. And one day had a guy come in, needed a bow worked on, and we just got to talking. And he had just moved to Virginia from Illinois, and his name's actually Ben. Ben.
It's a good name. Solid name.
Yeah, good guy. He's a good friend of mine, and he came into the store. And I said, "Where'd you get this bow from?" Because he didn't buy it from us. It was a brand new Matthews, and we were the only Matthews dealer in the area. And he said, "I got it as a tip from a client." I said, "What were you doing that you got a brand new Matthews as a tip for a client?" He said, I guided in Pike County, Illinois for 4 years after college. And I looked at him, just like, okay, this guy's just full of it. And he's like, "No, really, I did." I said, I got my camera in my truck. I'll bring it in and show you some footage. So he brought his camera into the shop, and we hooked up to the TV, and he's just showing me bean field after bean field with 150 to 200 inch deer in full velvet. They were riding around, glass in the fields in August and September. And I said, "Man, that's awesome." He said, "Yeah, I really loved it. I actually got a job from a client." I said, "Cool." So he moved to Williamsburg, Virginia, and he worked for like a big freezer company or food company or something along those lines.
Okay.
And he's like, "Yeah, I got a good job, but I really don't have anywhere to hunt here or anything like that." And I was, 19 or 20 years old at the time. And I said, "Well, hey, you can come hunt with me if you want. I got about 140 acres. You can come hunt." And at the time, I was real particular about who I let hunt with me. So I actually made this guy that guided in Illinois for 4 years sit in a lock on. We doubled up in a tree, made him sit with me for like the first 2 or 3 times we went out. So I knew that he actually knew what he was doing.
Oh, man.
So after college, I knew I didn't want to be inside. I didn't want to be working in a lab or anything like that. And I called Ben. I said, "Hey, you think you could reach out to your old outfitter and see if, they might be looking for a guide?" And he said, "Yeah, I'll look." So he called me a few days later, and he said, "Yeah, they might be looking for somebody." And when he said that, it was like a light switch turning on, man. It was something that I'd always seen on TV and, and all that stuff. And I was like, man, if I could make money doing what I love, hunting and fishing, I said, that's every guy's dream.
Oh, yeah.
So I went to Illinois, packed up my truck, got all my clothes, on my deer stands, everything I needed, packed up my truck, and I drove to Pike County, Illinois, and I guided there for a fall. I did mainly deer hunting there. But throughout this entire time, waterfowl had slowly been taking over my hunting passion. And so, excuse me, I guided there for a fall and a winter, and I enjoyed the guiding aspect of things. I just didn't particularly care for, the place I was working at was nice and all that. It just wasn't a good fit for me. So I said, well, I got to find somewhere else to go. So I got online, and I bet you I called or emailed probably 30 or 40 different outfitters across the country. I mean, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, Nebraska, Oklahoma. And then I was watching TV one night in the midst of doing all this, and Kansas popped up. I said, you know what? I didn't even look in Kansas yet. So I searched Kansas whitetail hunting or whitetail guide, and the first website that popped up was Hunt Hickory Creek. So I called, and Jeff, he's the owner, and Jeff answered, and I told him who I was, and I was interested in maybe guiding for him and this and that. And he said, well, I'm not really looking for anybody right now. He said, but send me your resume and send me a list of references and, give me a call back in a few days. So I sent all that stuff over to him, emailed it to him, waited about 2 or 3 days, and I called him, and we talked for probably another half hour. And he said, yeah, this all sounds pretty good, and he said, well, let me chew on it for a few days and give me a call back. So I gave him 2 or 3 days, and then I called him back, and we talked for, I don't know, probably another 30 or 45 minutes. And he said, yeah, I need another guy. I need another guy. A couple things have come up, and I need another guy. So come on, be out here, August 1st. So in the midst of that, I said, are you, I wanted to get into waterfowl guiding. I'd done it I'd waterfowl hunted quite a bit and taken some people out back home. And he said, yeah, I got a waterfowl operation. It's kind of starting up. And I went out there and I guided for 2 years, doing deer, turkey, and waterfowl under a different manager. And that other manager ended up going elsewhere, and I took over last year. Man, we've been rolling ever since. And last year was a good year, but I wanted to make some changes, and I was kind of in a position where I was able to do that. At this point now, it's 5 years into it. I'm the head waterfowl guide. I guess you'd say a waterfowl manager. One of the head deer guides and one of the head turkey guides. So took over the waterfowl division and met Cody a couple years ago and was looking to expand. And I knew eventually. I've known for a few years that I wanted to be in Central Kansas, and the stars aligned, and it worked out to where we were able to team up with Cody and Trevor and a few other people, and now we've got a big expansion that's starting up in Central Kansas, and it's the sky's the limit for us. We're just continually pushing day in and day out to make things better and grow the company and grow the outfitter and do it the right way. So that's kind of how I got from, I guess you would say, the bottom of the barrel to the top, hopefully. So that's where we're going with it.
Right. So question for you. I just thought of this. Now, I'm not interested, but, I call you and I'm like, hey, I'm just fresh out of high school or JUCO or college. And I'm like, hey, I'm interested in, being a waterfowl guide. What are the things you evaluate a guy on that is going to be working for you or, working in your operation?
Well, that's a good question, because a lot of guys that are getting into guiding think that it's only about the hunt, only about killing, and only about, how many birds can you put down, how many deer can you get killed, how many turkeys can you kill. And to be honest with you, in my opinion, that's second, because you can be the best goose caller in the world, the best duck caller in the world, the best waterfowl hunter in the world. But if you can't deal with people on a day-to-day basis, build relationships, have conversations, then, I can always find somebody that can kill birds. Finding the guys that can kill birds and build relationships and keep clients happy, maybe when things aren't going right or when things are going really good, and keeping that momentum going and keeping clients happy. I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, you can teach somebody how to duck hunt. You can teach somebody how to goose hunt. You can teach somebody how to look for places to hunt, scout, and all that kind of stuff. And you guys do a great job of covering that in a lot of your podcasts. But the one thing you can't teach somebody is how to communicate, how to have relationships, and how to build lasting relationships. I mean, I'm getting married next year, and I've got clients that are going to be coming to my wedding. And, if you were just a good guy, a good hunter, you wouldn't have those kind of relationships. So that for me is one of the biggest things is, can you be a good enough guide that even when things aren't going good, the clients are still having the time of their life? I mean, that's where we're going with our operation is we're going to kill birds. I mean, that's just, we've got all the right people. We've got all the right places. We've got everything going for us. We're going to kill birds. But, the ability to rebook clients, maybe when things aren't going as planned, the ability to handle situations that, may not be ideal, handle problems, be a problem solver. That's the kind of stuff that makes a good guide. I told Jeff when he interviewed me, over the course of our 3 or 4 phone calls, I think he said, what's your idea of a successful hunt? And we were talking about deer hunt at this point. And I said, I don't base a successful hunt on whether a guy kills a deer or not, or whether he kills a turkey or not, or whether he shoots a limit of ducks or not. If I can get a guy to come back that wasn't successful, maybe didn't fill his deer tag, maybe only killed 1 turkey, maybe had decent hunts. But if I can get a guy to come back and he didn't have the best hunting opportunity or didn't have the best hunt, then that's when you know that you've done your job as a guide. So those are the kind of guys that I look for, and the guys that I've got in place now are those kind of guys. We're all like-minded. We all understand, we're a big team. We talk every single day. That's where our operation is going, and that's what I look for in a guide. I've worked with guides that are some of the best turkey hunters in the world, or the best deer guides in the world, or whatever it may be, but they just don't have that X factor of being able to communicate or being able to build relationships or being able to treat clients like they deserve to be treated. Because you have to be able to control the things that you can control. And that's something that we preach with our guides and, as an outfitter. You have to control the things that you can control. You can't control the weather. You can't control whether the birds are going to get up at 7 o'clock or 9 o'clock, but you can control your effort. You can control how you set up. You can control how you treat people. Those are the things you have to control. You can control whether the lodge is clean. Being a guide isn't just going out and shooting ducks. You may have to go back and clean the lodge up or cook dinner or whatever. Doing what you have to doing what you have to do, to make everybody have a good experience. Because some of these guys save up money for years to go on one hunt or go on a hunt. Some guys go on 2 or 3 hunts every year. But you got to treat everybody like it's, you just got to treat everybody. Being able to treat people right is the biggest thing. No matter where they're from, who they are, what their situation may be, you got to be able to treat people right and be good to them. So that's, in a nutshell, it's a big nutshell, but in a nutshell, that's what I look for in guides.
Yeah. No, that's important because I think everybody has been on a day where they shot 0 ducks, had a great time. And then on the same hand, we've all had, where we shot up kind of a bang up hunt, but it really wasn't the most enjoyable for one reason or another. And a lot of that comes down to the experience and the feel of the people that you shared the blind with.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I couldn't agree with you more on that.
Yep. So, question for you. And this is what I always kind of thought. So, a huge part of duck hunting and goose hunting for me is the calling birds and working birds like that. How frequently and how do you deal with maybe a client that really wants to call but is kind of not getting it done or kind of maybe detracting from it? Or I guess you guys hunt lessers quite a bit, right?
Yeah, our new lodge in central Kansas is going to be ate up with lessers, specks, snows, ducks. Where our Howard camp is mainly ducks and big geese. So there's a little bit of difference there between the two places on the styles of hunting and calling and whatever. But that's another thing about being a guide is being able to handle a tough situation like that. Where we're at, we allow people to bring their dogs, for instance. But there's a time and a place where if you're a guide and you're out running a hunt, if the dog is breaking or the dog is whining or whatever, you've got to be able to tell the client, hey, we're going to have to go put the dog up in the truck, or we're going to have to figure something else out because he's flaring the birds or he's spooking the birds, or, it's a safety concern. And that goes hand in hand with calling. I mean, if it's working, sometimes, we may need everybody in the blind that has a call. Let's throw it all at them. It may be a tough day and we need to throw the kitchen sink at them. Then we may have everybody call. And sometimes we have guys call, but a lot of times guys, they get so wrapped up in, the beauty of the hunting out in Kansas, and hunting with us, that the last thing that they really want to do is have to worry about calling, to be honest with you. We get some guys that really want to, and we're okay with that. But, you also may have to say, hey, you know what, let's put the calls down. Let's let the guides will handle it. If we need you guys to jump in, we will. And that's a tough situation to deal with, but you got to be able to handle it with light hands and, be able to tell people that, we got to do something a little bit different because what we're doing right now isn't working. So
yeah,
we run into that every once in a while, but usually everybody's on board. We do meetings and, we kind of have powwows before the hunt and, have expectations and all that stuff. So.
Oh yeah. So what does that look like? You know what I mean? Your powwows and like, what's the safety brief beforehand and all that stuff? Like how diligent, do you have to be with all that stuff? Cause I think about just when I take out just one new person, that I'm unfamiliar with, all the stuff that we go over in the truck on the way there. And, I can't imagine what it is like running 6 to 8 people like that,
Oh yeah. So, a lot of times we have everybody sign safety waivers and all that stuff. And, knock on wood, we've never had an incident or accident. We had a pretty close call last year, with one guy swinging one way and another guy swinging another way. And we handled that situation and it was all fine. Something, for me personally, I've got a dog that I've got a lot of time, energy, and money invested in that I care a lot about, so if my dog is in the field or in the water, nobody else has their guns up. If there's a cripple to be shot, we address that before the hunt. If we got to shoot a cripple, I'll tell you when to shoot it or I'll shoot it or whatever. Just as a guide, a lot of times, the way we set up, say we've got 2 or 3 A-frames put together. A lot of times one guide will sit on one side, one guide will sit on the other, running dog from each end. And that way we're kind of able to keep an eye out on everything. And, a lot of times we'll be calling and looking at birds, and I'll also be looking up and down the blind to make sure guys have their safety on or, and stuff like that. And after their shoot, we don't send the dogs until after everybody's done shooting. Our dogs don't break or anything like that. So we've got really good dogs, and a lot of that's thanks to Barton Ramsey and the Southern Oak Kennels crew with the killer dogs that they put out. But just being safe. It's a lot of it's all common sense, but being aware of your surroundings is something that as a guide you really have to be in tune with. Because like you said, you're bringing 6, 8, 10 guys, they may be in one group, they may be in a couple different groups, and, just being aware of your surroundings and paying attention to details. It may be the guy 3 or 4 guys down from you doesn't have the safety on. You got to be able to pick that stuff out. You got to be able to make sure that guys are 100% safe all the time. So,
right.
It's usually not an issue. I haven't had any issues with stuff like that. And if we ever do have an issue like that, we address it. It's taken care of pretty quickly. So.
All right. Yeah, nice, man. Yeah. So what would you say? What was the most rewarding hunt for you this season?
My last one of the season, for sure. When I asked Megan to marry me, it was probably one of my less successful hunts as far as birds being killed, but for sure my most memorable hunt I've ever had. So that was definitely the biggest one I've had, my biggest hunt, I guess you would say. Having Megan there and bunch of my friends and a bunch of my friends, might as well be family at this point, from Southern Oak Kennels and some other places. So that was definitely my most rewarding one. But one of my most memorable ones, we had one hunt. We call it 30 for 30. We shot our 30 ducks in 30 minutes. It was a cool little hunt, man. I think we didn't have anything bigger than maybe a group of 10 come in at a time, but it was every minute and a half we had a flock coming in, or every 2 or 3 minutes have a flock come in. Shot a pretty bang out limit. It was a lot of fun with some older guys who actually were in 2 separate groups, and they're actually booking together this year. So that was really cool, that they had never met before until they came and hunted with us in Kansas, and now they're friends that are coming back to hunt together. So that's awesome. That was pretty neat. So, and then we had another hunt. I had another hunt with some guys from SOK. One of the dog trainers down there, Corey, he came up with a group of guys, and we shot a 9-man limit of ducks in like 45 minutes. And we could have, if we had 9 more guys, we could have driven back to the lodge, ate breakfast, gone to the diner, gone to take a nap and come back and done it again. It was a pretty stellar day. It was a lot of fun. So we had a lot of good dog work and good shooting and good laughs, and it was a great time. So those are probably my 3 most memorable ones from this year. So
nice. All right, this is one. You spend a lot of time out in the field. What's the craziest thing that you've ever witnessed?
Oh, the craziest thing I've ever witnessed. Oh, me. That's putting me on the spot. Well, I can tell you one of my most memorable, one of the craziest things I've seen my dog do. I started hunting him when he was 12 and a half months old, maybe 13 months old. And we were hunting a cut bean field. And about 2 weeks prior to this, I had been seeing on social media all this stuff about a quill goose, and everybody was talking about it. I had never seen one.
A what?
A quill goose.
Crow goose?
A quill, yep. Quill, Quill Lake. It's
yeah.
Quill, yep. So it's like a subspecies of Canada goose that like 95% of them are from a region in Saskatchewan called Quill Lake. And I think they like crossbreed with like domestic geese or something, but they get a big white bar across their stomach, and then they get white. Their last like 3 or 4 flight feathers on their wingtips will be completely white if you get a really good one. So we get a flock of geese coming in, and I call a shot, and, we drop like 5 or 6 right in the decoys. One sailed out to like 100 yards, and this other one was dripping oil. That's what I call it when they just, they're doing this long, slow glide down. He was dripping oil across this field. He landed probably 400 or 500 yards out in the middle of this field. Well, we had birds all over the place, and so I ran out. Jet ran out and grabbed like the one that was like 100 yards and brought it back, and I had gathered up a couple more. And I look out to this one that had sailed way out in the middle of this field, and he was laying down when I first saw him. Well, by the time I got these other birds and I looked out at him, he had stood up and he was facing us, and he stretched his wings out. And I just see this big white bar across his stomach, and like his right wing had the last 3 or 4 feathers were completely white, and I just absolutely lost it. So I get Jet, and mind you, he's a puppy at this point. I hadn't done a lot of blind work with him or anything like that, and I just line him up and I say his name, and he just takes off running, and he just keeps going and going and going and going, and he gets to about 250 yards, and this goose sees him coming and takes off running, and he's running and flapping and running and flapping. At this point, Jet finally sees him and just turned. I mean, he hit the turbo, man. I mean, he just turned it on, and by the time Jet had got to the goose, he was about 4.5 feet off the ground flying. And Jet jumped in the air, grabbed the goose in midair, and hit the ground and rolled like 3 times with the goose in his mouth. And when he finally got his feet underneath him, he was facing back to us at the blind. And he stood there, looked at me, looked down at the goose, looked at me, looked down at the goose, and you could just tell he was like super jacked at what he had just done. I mean, I will never forget it. It's probably my most memorable retrieve that he had ever done. And I was like a kid like that won the World Series out in the middle of the field to see, a 12.5-month-old dog do that. I mean, it was absolutely incredible. One of the craziest things I've ever seen. And when I saw him do that, that was a pretty cool moment for me, something I'll never forget. So
he's thinking, hey, did you get that on camera?
Oh, I know. It was one of those moments that like it happens and you're like, man, I really wish I'd had that on camera. But at the same time, it's like, if I would have been videotaping it, I would have never seen it really happen,
Right.
So,
yeah.
And it's so vivid and so burned in my mind, a memory like that. And that's the kind of stuff that, as a waterfowl guide that you want your clients to experience, and want people to be able to see, because that's the kind of stuff that you don't see that on TV, or you may not see that kind of stuff happen at home, or, you got good dogs working and good hunts going. I mean, that's the kind of stuff, that's kind of cool stuff that can happen. So.
Yeah, the mental image there was great. So.
Oh, I got one more. I got one more for you that happened last year. I'm gonna throw Wade Skeen under the bus because I give him a hard time about this all the time. But he came over and hunted around Thanksgiving, which last year we didn't run any clients around that time. But this year will be late October all the way into November and then on. But he came over around Thanksgiving and we were shooting some geese and some ducks, and we were all, everybody's guns were completely empty. And then out of nowhere, this big, huge, beautiful bull drake canvasback comes buzzing through the decoys, does one half circle and flies completely over the layout blinds, about 20 yards over top of the blinds. And Wade emptied his gun and didn't cut a feather. That was probably one of the best things I saw last year. And he's going to hate me for saying that, but we laughed. I still laugh about it to this day. It was hilarious. So. Yeah,
I think I have a very similar story to that. And it was, unfortunately, I'll throw myself under the bus, is we had a group come in and I swear the lead bird was about 10 yards off the foot of my blind, and I whiffed on that thing twice before it finally got up, and I hit it in the air, but I could not hit that thing for the life of me.
Yeah, right when it's in the hole, you couldn't kill it.
Yeah, and it was like 10, and I remember thinking to myself, "Oh man, I'm gonna destroy this bird on, dang it." But everybody else was shooting, and no one had shot at that one yet, and I was like, okay, missed it twice. Finally got it on the third shot, but
yeah, when that happened, Wade just laid back in his blind, and he was just, because he's never killed a canvasback before.
Oh,
So
man.
it was an unusual time of the year. Usually we see the cans down there in Howard. We usually see them, beginning of December all the way through the end of the season. But that one came through as pretty as you could ask for, and he completely missed.
So and you talk about people like saying, they never shot a canvas back, and these people that have been hunting for like 10, 15, 20, 30 years, when I first started hunting, or getting serious about it in about 5 years ago, on the Rio Grande, I was going out there all by myself, maybe with a couple people, and I would text my buddy afterwards. He was the most serious duck hunter I knew. His name's Tony White. He's in the group, but I'd send him a picture of my birds, and I'd be like, "Hey, man, I got this teal. It kind of looks weird. I don't know what it's the size of a teal, but it's got like a blue wing and it's kind of red and whatever." He's like, "Oh my God, you shot a cinnamon teal in your first season?" I was like, "Yeah, I guess." And then,
oh my gosh,
yeah, and then like that same, it was so bad that he came down and like knocked out a couple hunts with me. Drove all the way from Nebraska to hunt where I was hunting because I was shooting canvas back, I was shooting cinnamon teal, I was shooting,
Did you get it mounted?
Oh yeah. Actually, I shot 2 cinnamon teal back to back seasons. And I gave him one of the cinnamon teal as payment for mounting this one. So
nice.
Yeah,
that's a bucket lister for me for sure. So
yeah.
I've never even seen one. So I'd be beside myself if I got to shoot a cinnamon teal, especially full plume.
Yeah, and it's a good looking bird for sure.
That's awesome. It's hard to beat a Drake widgeon though, man. Everybody loves pintails and mallards and all that stuff. Man, we've killed some widgeon in Kansas. I swear to you, think they're pintails in the sky because they got, freaking 2 or 3 inch sprigs on them. And when you shoot a full plume Drake widgeon with a sprig like that, man, they are hard to beat. I'll tell you right now.
I love widgeon, and they're not bad eating either.
No, they're not bad eating at all. No. I actually have a goose in the taxidermist right now in Canada, a big greater that I killed last year that has a white bar between his beak and his, I think it's between his beak and his eyes. So they have the throat patch that goes underneath of their throat.
Yeah.
And this one's got a white bar that goes right across, like almost looks like eye black going across his beak.
Interesting.
It's pretty cool. Big bird with a big old white stripe across his beak. Or his eyes there, so that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
So, but yeah, man, we're excited. I'm getting amped up for it. All the new TV shows started, and
oh yeah,
so you get to binge watch those, and then you got to wait another week for them to come on, and so
yeah, I downloaded that My Outdoor TV app. So
worst decision ever, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know.
That's awesome.
That's
awesome.
Yeah, man. So now, do you guys have any video content or, I don't know, like I know Megan does a lot of like photos and video for you guys, but do you guys have like video or anything like that?
We've got a little bit. But that's a big part of our goal for this year is to get some really good content. I've got a couple of photographers that are going to be there when Megan's not around because she comes out the first week of December. And then we actually have Sporting Dog Adventures with Jeff Fuller. He came out and hunted with us last year. He did a duck hunt with us, and then he hunted at Flint Oak for pheasants and chuckers and all that kind of stuff. But there'll be a video spot. I think the first Monday in September, I think, is when that show comes on. And it was a pretty killer place that we were hunting. We had the game warden come and bother us for an hour during prime time, so that was nice.
Yeah.
We had some. They should have some pretty cool footage on there. We had a lot of birds around. So, yeah, that's definitely a we got a big push for that this year. We got some guys coming out to help us, and we're going to be doing some filming ourselves. So we're excited about that for sure.
Yeah, so, that's always fun, and then it's also an added thing where users can see what they're going to be getting into with you guys and whatnot, and then we're
something I'm considering doing this year. Back here in Virginia, there's actually in the Outer Banks, North Carolina, there's a charter boat captain that at the end of the day, when they get back in from tuna fishing or marlin fishing or whatever, he does like a Facebook Live, like a kind of a report. And I think that's something that we're gonna do this year. Nobody else really does that, and I think that's something that we're gonna try to do this year. The good, the bad, the ugly. Just do a kind of a recap of the day or the hunts or whatever, and kind of get everybody's perspective on how the hunt went and that kind of stuff, and try to keep our followers up to speed on what's been going on. And I think we're also going to try to get a Snapchat account opened up for our waterfowl division. I got a couple of guides that love taking Snapchat videos wearing their blind, so I think that's something that we're going to try to do too. So
yeah,
that'd be a cool way for everybody to kind of live vicariously through us on our social media. So
yeah, I guess I didn't even ever think of that, because if you're going to be, if I'm going to book a hunt with you, I got a hunt booked with you that season or something, and I follow our Snapchat so you can keep up to date. Okay, kind of get you all amped up for it.
Yeah, and that's something that I think most outfitters do it, but like if I got a group of guys coming in on say like Saturday and we get a bad weather push, or we lose birds or something, that's something that we're really focused on too. Is I'm not going to have a group of 6 or 8 or 10 guys just come out and take their money if we don't have birds to shoot. I'll call them and we'll reschedule, or we'll try to figure out a better time for them to come, or or move their dates to the following year or whatever. But that's something that we're not against doing at all if it means that our clients are going to be successful. So that's just kind of part of our program that we're trying to do, is provide an experience. I mean, a lot of guys or girls or women will book a hunt, and you may go with a guy that just you may shoot your limits and you may kill birds and do all that stuff, but we're looking to go that extra mile. We're going to kill birds. That's a given. We're going to kill birds, and we're going to kill a lot of birds. But we're really high end on providing the experience, from the moment you wake up to the moment you lay your head on the pillow. We're going to have killer meals, and we're going to be cooking on the Traegers and smoking ribs, and pork butts and briskets, and drinking cold beer and telling lies and having a good time. And we really want to provide the entire experience, not necessarily just the the hunting aspect. And that was a big reason for us to really find a good lodge in our central Kansas location. It's just because there's a lot of outfitters that good, bad, or ugly, they'll run guys out of hotels and all that kind of stuff, but you just don't get that. You don't get that camaraderie. You don't get that experience of hanging out with your guides and telling stories and talking about your wife and your kids, and so that was a big deal for us, was to really make sure we had a place that we could do that.
Right.
So that was a big reason, and another reason that we're super stoked about our Central Kansas Lodge is because we're going to be able to do all that kind of stuff. So we'll be able to do it all right there. You'll be able to go sit out at the fire, hopefully shoot a limit in the morning and go out, sit at the fire in the evening and watch all the birds come back to the refuge. And, so that's what we're looking forward to.
Absolutely. That's awesome. And then I'm looking forward to, I guess we can preview it a little bit. I think, I'm going to come down there and I'm going to follow you around for a day, and we're going to do a little, day in the life of a guide, in central Kansas. I think that'll be pretty fun.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be pretty epic. It'll be hopefully it'll be a good day hunting, and we'll have some good food, and I think that's gonna be pretty cool thing to do, and give everybody kind of a play-by-play of how our day goes, from the time the alarm goes off until the guides lay down. You just got to be ready for a long day, because we put in long days when we're out there guiding. We don't usually ever quit. So
Yeah,
it's long days, a lot of hard work, but it all pays off in the end. So I'm excited about that. That's gonna be pretty cool and pretty unique. So
yeah, I think so too. Well, before we get off here, suppose we ought to hit something for the listeners here. So I was hoping maybe you could give them some advice on when and how, what to look for. If they're not booking in Kansas or something like that. But what's some things that you can do to like just be successful, getting ready to go out on your guided hunt?
Right. Well, as far as the checklist is concerned, making sure you have all your gear, make sure you have it all organized before you leave, clean and oil your gun, make sure your gun works. I can't tell you how many clients I've had that they get there, they show up, and they left their plug at home, or they, the gun's not working, or their gun's jamming, or they bought the wrong shells. Take care of the things that you can control before you get there, because, if you're going somewhere like you do with us, you may be an hour and a half from a place where you can go get parts or ammo or any of that kind of stuff. So taking care of what you can at home is a big deal. If you're booking a hunt with an outfitter, don't be afraid to ask for a list of references. Talk to your outfitter, talk to the guy that you're trying to book a hunt with, whether it's with me in Kansas, or somebody in Missouri or Saskatchewan or wherever you may be going. Do your homework, and talk to people. If you can. Usually you can judge pretty well when you have a conversation with somebody on a phone or via email or whatever it may be, and kind of get a feel for what they're like. Don't be afraid to ask them questions that you wish you would have asked them, once you've got there. Ask if you can bring your dog, ask if your kids can come, ask if, what do I need to bring? What do I not need to bring? Do I need waiters? Do I not need waiters? Ask everything that you need to ask before you get there, because sometimes when you get there, it may be too late. And you may be scrambling, trying to, take care of things that you wish you would have taken care of, 2 or 3 months before you book. So that's a big deal. And just look for an outfitter that's a good fit for you. It may not necessarily be us. It may not be the guy next to us. It may be, somebody else down the road or in another state or in another country. But get a feel for your guide, and find out what they're all about. For us, it's about the hunt, and killing birds and having a good time. But, we provide some things that I think other outfitters may not provide. We've got a professional photographer on staff that will photograph your hunt. We provide killer food. Really look into, pick apart the details and find out what it's all about. And if it's, or like I said before, and I'll beat this horse till it's dead, but, we're really about building relationships with people. I don't want, sometimes there's guys that are only going to be able to come out once a year or once every 5 years or whatever, but I want guys that come hunt with me and come hunt with our operation. I want them to come back, and I want them to be successful. And, we work tirelessly to make sure that we do everything we possibly can to make that happen. So, and if you find an outfitter that you don't think is doing that or does do that, then, keep looking. So, but that's what we're all about in Central Kansas and Southeast Kansas. So, I can't speak for anybody else, but we got a pretty good thing going, and it's only going up from here. So we're pretty excited about it.
Yep, absolutely. And you talk about the building relationships, and that's one of the reasons that we're probably going to be hearing from you a little bit more in the episodes coming up, because you're going to be giving us. We haven't decided what we're going to call it yet, but you're going to be giving us some professional tips, as it were, for the listeners about every week, right?
Yeah, and it'll be a team effort. If there's something that I think I need to pull one of my other guides in on, or we'll definitely do everything we can to help out the listeners and try to help make them successful. I mean, that's all I want for anybody, whatever they may be doing, is for them to be successful. So, maybe a guy down in Texas or something that needs help with setting a decoy spread or wherever. But that's all we need. That's all we want to do is help people be successful and then try to provide good experiences. So.
All right, man. Well, I think we should probably get it on and go ahead and end this one.
That sounds good, dude. I sure appreciate you having us on, and I'm looking forward to everything we got going here in the future. And it's going to be a good one. Got a long season ahead of us, but we're ready for it.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it, Ben. I look forward to speaking with you again here soon.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Fowl Front Waterfowl Podcast. Please come join us on our Facebook group, the Fowl Front Waterfowl Podcast group, where you can connect with a good group of hunters, because we're all in this together. We need to act like it so that hopefully our great-great-grandkids will be hunting ducks over our favorite public lands. We also ask that you go ahead and give us a written review on iTunes and give us 5 stars if you think we deserve it. And we really do want to hear back from you so that we can give you the best possible content. And if you get in on that Facebook group, you can get in there and you can ask questions and you can tell us what you want to hear next, or you can tell us what you don't like, and we'll be sure to tailor things to our listeners. So, all right. Stay safe out there, and we will see you next week.